Around that time, we said, you know what, this is wide open. This is a wide open opportunity. We're going for it. And we're not going to do anything else anymore. We're not going to invest in any other industries. We're going to stick to the sports industry. And that's what we did.
All right, we are back for another episode of Under the Number. Today, I'm joined by Wayne Kimmel, head of 76 Capital, just outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, joining us today, a fund and a firm focused on investing in sports, media, and entertainment. And he has been running this firm for 26 years, since 1999. Wayne, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Yeah, Brent, it's great to be on your show, and it's I love the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, I mentioned right there, 1999 is when you opened up shop with 76 Capital. The pivot, though, into your sports focus came 15, 16 years after you'd already been running as a firm. Tell me about that transition and maybe give us a little flyover of the years that preceded that move.
It's been an amazing run, and it feels like just yesterday I started my first fund back in 1999, and it's been amazing. Had the opportunity to back incredible entrepreneurs that were truly trying to do the next thing, and that's always been what we've tried to do here at 76 Capital. Get behind smart and nice entrepreneurs who want to change the world, want to do something that other people think is impossible, and truly make the impossible possible. Like, that's what it's all about, right? Like, it's to do that, and that's the whole overall entrepreneurial mindset. And going back to the early 2000s, investing in companies like SeamlessWeb, which is now part of GrubHub. It was one of the first online food ordering companies. People would say to me, like, what the heck do you need to order food online for? Just call in your order, fax it in. What are you talking about, right? And it's unbelievable to see the change, But again, being that, the investor behind these entrepreneurs, helping them move their business forward, be their supporters, be there for the good times, and of course with the bad as well, and be able to help them and lift them up. That's something that's really, that we've been such an important part of everything that we've done here at 76 Capital over the years. Getting behind concepts like thinking about walking into a drugstore and trying to get checked out by a nurse practitioner inside of a store. A drugstore, that's not where you go and you get some gum, you get your prescriptions, and you get the heck out of there, right? And maybe you get some deodorant or something, but but to go in there and actually get checked out and have almost like a doctor's office type visit, that's something else, So we were investors in a company that did that, and we were really fortunate to get behind a number of really game-changing, industry-changing type companies. And those clinics, by the way, that we started are now what you see when you go into Walgreens. So any Walgreens, you walk in there, that's was the company that we invested in, that they bought from us. So it's really amazing to see whether it's food delivery or what was happening in the healthcare side of the world and how we were able to change things. That's what we're all about, always thinking about the next thing in whatever industry we invested in, using technology, using data, using analytics, how you can actually really change an industry. Well, about 2015 or so, my partners here at 76 Capital, John Powell and Chad Stender and I, were sitting around and we're thinking about what's that next industry that we want to go after, right? That we would invest in, that we could really change through the use of tech, data, and analytics. And it kept coming back to sports. We kept thinking, we kept looking and seeing this. There were so few investors. There were so few people that were really thinking about how to use technology, data, and analytics to change and transform and really move the sports industry forward. Like every other industry had done that. And around that time, we said, you know what, this is wide open. This is a wide open opportunity. We're going for it. And we're not going to do anything else anymore. We're not going to invest in any other industries. We're going to stick to the sports industry. And that's what we did.
Did you always know you wanted to be an investor, or was there an aha moment early in your career that really gave you that clarity that you wanted to run at this as your long-term profession?
Well, it certainly was. I had no idea that I was going to be an investor. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book about sort of the history of what we've done here at 76, and my overall career. And I tell a story in the book about back in the late 90s. And I was a lawyer at the time, and I was with some friends of mine at an entrepreneurial tech event in New York City in the late 90s. And I saw all these people crowding around this individual. And I'm like, why is everyone wanting to talk to that person? Like, who is that? And they said, that guy is a venture capitalist, or he could be an angel investor. That was before, the family office thing that everyone talks about now. But
Right.
they were like, that guy's an angel investor or or a venture capitalist. And I said, what's a venture capitalist? Like, what are you even talking about? And some guy, who was part of our group said, that's the person that makes all of our dreams come true. And I said, wow, that's unbelievable. I want to be one of those people someday.
Wow. So, okay. And also, having endured 26-ish years as a venture capitalist is a very impressive feat on its own. You mentioned like 1999, you went through .com, you've seen mobile, you've seen e-commerce, you've seen the probably, blip of Web3 craziness a couple years ago. Like, there are all of these times where you could have been wiped out. And a lot of people have one good fund and they can't manage to get it done a second time. And then your ability to fundraise from there is gone. What has been your key to your longevity of your investing career?
Well, I think it's one of the things I tell all the entrepreneurs that we invest in. It's perseverance, right? I mean, you got to stick to it, right? You got to just keep moving forward. Keep trying to do and move forward every single day. And you gotta go out there and fight the fight. I mean, it's like being an athlete, right? It's one of the reasons why we love the sports industry. Is we love being surrounded with athletes who not only are investors with us, but advisors and partners and people that are, because it's to be a really great entrepreneur, you need to be as you need to have the same kind of traits that you would have if you were as an athlete. You need that drive, that desire, the passion, the persistence, the being able to like just get knocked down. Like, you played football, right? I mean, getting knocked down and you're like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm going to get back up and get hit again. But like, you got to be able to get up and try next time to not get hit. Maybe you'll spin, maybe you'll jump over the guy like Saquon or something, right? Like, you'll do something. Like, you got to do something different the next time, but you want to just keep moving forward and trying to get down the field. And we truly believe if you do that, you'll win. And over the years, we've been really fortunate to have backed some amazing entrepreneurs who have been incredibly resilient, who really are just, they're incredibly, mentally tough. It's not an easy thing. Like, you're not, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to get knocked around and physically beat up. Like, you're not going to have to like ice yourself after the game. You may feel like it at times, but like, you will get doors slammed in your face. You will be told that your idea is crazy. You will be told by your spouse or your mom or dad that like, go get a job. What's wrong with you, right? But like, if you truly know that you have that next thing, you truly have the thing that will make the world a better place, make an industry, totally be able to transform an industry, keep going, keep moving forward, because you're gonna do it, and you eventually will. And so those similar types of things, that's what we at 76 tell ourselves, right? As entrepreneurial venture capitalists, right? We're there, with our companies. We're literally next to them, locked arm in arm with them, looking to help them, build their business to be successful.
So, speaking of being told that your idea is crazy, it sounds like you and your partners had a lot of conviction around your sports-centric thesis 10 years ago. I think you were one of the few to have that position that long ago. How was it received by your peers in the industry, by potential LPs that you were going to ask for money from in the future? You guys might have sounded a little bit out of your mind a decade ago.
100%. I mean, and quite frankly, I mean, that's why, we were, and because we were, of our own conviction and our own belief that this was the next thing and we were going to go after it, we put up a lot of our own money. I mean, and because so many investors were like, yeah, Wayne, that's cute. That's really nice. Sports. I know you like sports. You're a huge sports fan. I know didn't you broadcast games back in college? Because I couldn't play like you. So I had to broadcast the football games and basketball games at Maryland. But like, didn't you like love sports? Don't you love sports and you coach your kids and that's your big thing? And I'm like, you're right. But here's the thing that you're missing. The thing that you're missing, everybody else, is that this is an asset class. Sports is an asset class. And I would get every kind of look you can imagine. Like, sports is not an asset class. What are you talking about? I'm like, this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and let me tell you why. Let's break it down. Let me tell you what's happening. And when you think about this, right? I said, well, what do you see out there? Everyone wants to either play sports, watch sports, or want their kid to be the next LeBron, Serena, or Caitlin Clark. And they'll do anything and everything to have their kid be that person, right? And spend unbelievable amounts of money. And people, what do? And then, and then when 2018 comes around and sports betting becomes, legal outside of the state of Nevada, and we go in head first and we tell everybody that there's going to be, 20, 30 states that legalize sports betting. And they're like, Wayne, seriously, again? Like, you're really going? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, you have to understand there's hundreds of billions of dollars bet across sports. And like, how do you even know that? I'm like, it's an estimate. And it was an estimate in the black market. But like, now that there's been over $560 billion bet legally since sports betting is now in over, you could say 50 states now with what's happening with the prediction markets and everything else, but 38, 39, legal states. I mean, it's really, really unbelievable to see what's happening. And, but again, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, you got to put yourself out there. You got to, if you really want to if you want to do the next thing, you got to take some risks. You got to take some bets of your own. That's what we did. And it's been incredible to see now. I mean, like, within the last year, Goldman and JP Morgan having sports investment banks, with CNBC now covering sports like they cover any other industry. Like, you go to cnbc.com/sport, you get the same kind of stuff that you would only get in like the Sports Business Journal. Now it's on TV. It's part of the mainstream now. And, fortunately, we were right. Fortunately, the industry's growing. Fortunately, there are a lot of other investors that are coming into the market, many of which are going on to the private equity side, and much later stage investing in teams and leagues and things like that. For us, on the venture side, to be able to invest in these entrepreneurs that are creating the next technology or data-based type business, that's our world, that the infrastructure, the tech across this industry, that's what we really believe will be able to, will be the core of all of this.
So take us inside your mind at the beginning of COVID, because I think that was a very interesting, in retrospect, it looks like that was just part of the snowballing tailwind that actually accelerated this sports craze and probably ultimately made things bigger and better for people like you in that industry. But in the early days, it was like, are we ever going to have sports again? Will there ever be a live sporting event? Will you ever go to a stadium again? What was going through your mind? Did you have any level of hope or ability to see past the chaos that was happening at the beginning? But then you look back now in 2025, between, kind of top of funnel things like content on Netflix and Drive to Survive becoming a giant thing with people at home, and even small things like The Last Dance being such a craze, like people who had probably never watched sports content in their lives, all of a sudden were at home getting that exposure. And then, of course, there are all of the swim lanes kind of downstream, from betting to the changes in collegiate sports to youth sports, women's sports, all these things. So take me inside your mind during that major inflection point.
It certainly was a major inflection point. I mean, for the industry, but it was also a really scary time. I mean, for everybody, right? I mean, it was really scary, from being a human being and worrying about, are you going to be healthy, number one, and then at the same time, you're like, okay, I think I figured out how I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to stay home. If I go out, people are going to wear masks, this and that kind of thing, right? I was like, okay, figured it out, and then it was like, all right. I'm yearning for sports. I'm like jonesing for. I need a live game. I need sports. I need something, right? I need to figure this out. I mean, at the time we were investors in Brent Musburger and Brian Musburger and Bill Adey in a company called VSiN, the 24-hour sports betting media network that we started with them, and it was and we're investors with them and partners with them in that business, and just like. We're like, okay, we're the 24-hour sports betting media network, and there are no games. Like, what do we do? Like, what do we talk about, right? And so, it was like, we got to get sports back. We got to start talking. We got to have that, because if there's no game, there's no line to talk about. There's no line movement. There's no bet. There's nothing, right?
That hurts that hurts your asset class thesis when it all goes away one day to the next.
I mean, it was like, oh my, but then it was like, but then you start seeing like, well, it's gonna come back, and then some of the unbelievable moves that the NBA with the bubble, and the fact that college football is coming back, and the NFL is going to come back, and like we're going to have games. Like, okay, like this is unbelievable, and the amount of excitement and energy and just interest that people had was amazing. So that was something that. And it was like, okay, well, that was when we were able to, in many cases, start to educate, and from a VSiN perspective, start to educate the public. Like, okay, well, the games haven't started yet, but in the future, let's talk about futures. Let's talk about how that works. Let's talk about what, and we were able to almost like really break down the world of sports betting. And I think there's certainly a lot of people know what they're doing, but then it was like also an opportunity to really tell the story of how this all really works. So that was something that what was interesting. And also at the same time, we were investors in companies that were making sure that, sports betting, was going to be completely on the up and up, and that people were going through the right types of compliance, during that time. So it gave us the opportunity to actually build our systems and our technology and get states up and get sports books up and running in all the different states that were legal. So once the games were come back, like boom, we're ready to go. So there was a lot of that was happening. There was this opportunity with our company Diamond Kinetics, our baseball tech company. This was a way for now you to train at home. Right now you can't play in your little league. Your little league was canceled, but here's all these amazing training tools that you can now use by just putting a sensor on a bat or just using your phone to video you taking swings and working on your swings and matching your swing to a major league player, and how does that work, and how do you now get better? Being able to use technology and data and analytics to really enable people to be ready for when everything came back. And then things came back in a huge way, and everyone wanted to go out and be with other people again, and get out there and exercise or play sports or watch sports or bet on games or just go to a sports book or a sports bar and like be together. And like now that's where we are today, and man, it's unbelievable what's happening. And we're about to experience something I think will be completely game-changing next year, with not only just the 250th anniversary of our country. And I mean, we're in Philadelphia. So much is going to happen in the Pennsylvania and Philadelphia areas with the All-Star game here, with the World Cup. And the World Cup's going to be unbelievable for the United States. I think this is going to be a really, really special thing, not only just for soccer in the U.S., which will be really huge, but it'll be also an unbelievable thing just to have all of these teams and all this competition across the United States. And we're already seeing it. We've started to see it this year with the Club Cup. Just a little taste of what next year is going to be like, and the amount of action and excitement in all across sports. And look, this year in college football, I mean, we're entering a whole new world, right? With college sports, and the actual college is paying the kids. I mean, you would have loved that, right, when you played.
I don't think I would have gotten too big of a check, to be completely honest. But yes, no, that would have been better than the old way. The cabin fever was real post-COVID. So definitely, once we're on the other side of that, everything came out with a bang. Speaking of the changes to the college landscape, from things like the transfer portal and NIL and collectives, and what feels like, I constantly am saying, it feels like we're very much in the Wild West right now. That's kind of the era at the moment where, yes, there have been these drastic changes. It doesn't feel extremely formalized, and I feel like some schools are doing things one way and others are doing another way, and conference by conference. How do you approach as an investor? You talked about the sports gambling thing with the 2018 decision. That was firm regulatory change that allowed for at least some level of predictability that would follow suit. Of course, there have been major court cases 2021 relating to college sports, but it still feels so early. It almost seems like things could change almost at the drop of a hat from a regulatory perspective. How do you take on that risk appropriately? How do you underwrite these things, knowing it's early days? I mean, this professionalization of college sports is in its infancy.
Well, I think you used the perfect term. I mean, the professionalization of college sports. We say the same thing about the professionalization of youth sports. I mean, it's the professionalization of professional sports as well, right? I mean, as it's all changing, right? Where you're now seeing even the type of executive that's now running any sort of team, whether it's at the professional level, whether it's a commissioner of one of the conferences, an athletic director. It's just a different type of person that you need, a different type of skill set that you need to have to be able to run one of these organizations today. So I think that when, from our perspective at 76 Capital and what we've invested in, we've stayed away from a lot of the businesses in and around college sports at this time. Well, it has to do a lot with what you just said. Because the uncertainty, right? There was no guarantee that you were going to have to actually track all of these NIL deals, right? That wasn't something that was like, it made sense, right? There's some really interesting companies that have been built that are doing some good things around that. But for us, it was like, well, if it's not going to be and that's one of the reasons why we did what we did in sports betting with companies like, IC360, and because there are rules, there are regulations, there's things and there are laws that we work within. That's not how it kind of is in college sports. So, now, the NCAA and, with the House settlement, all of a sudden you now have Deloitte enters the game. They've created their own system, right? Their NIL Go system. Unfortunately, there's a lot of groups that were trying to be that. Now this thing is now the thing, at least for right now. We'll see, and how that plays out. You have some. It wasn't something that we thought was the right thing for us. We certainly are not in the business of investing in or lending money to schools and athletic departments. There are groups that are trying to do that and want to be in that business. That's not what we do. That's not a tech data and analytics type play. That's more of a financial instrument that you're in money that you're providing the university. And there are some really large players that are doing that. And I think that we'll be successful in doing that. It's just not our thing. So that's one of the ways that I think you can play, but being able to really provide the coaches and with the latest and greatest technology. One of our companies, Shot Tracker, works with a lot of the major college basketball teams, both on the men's side and the women's side. You have like a Dawn Staley at South Carolina who talks about she won 2 straight national championships because she used Shot Tracker, because she was able to track every single shot and play on the court, and she loves everything out there. They've extended their business through the use of incredible, AI technology now, so you can just literally just talk to your phone and say, show me all the out of bounds plays that this, such and such team did, with 2 minutes left behind their, underneath their own basket, and boom, it just like shows up on your phone, and you're able to have that kind of power and information as a coach on the bench. So these are the types of things that we're excited about in and around the college industry, college space. I mean, we have an incredible analytics company that guys who came out of, one of the main guys came out of Stanford, as like you, who called Ludus Analytics, that's doing incredible things from an analytics perspective, and really taking all of the data that's come in and being able to now present it very simply for coaches, for athletic directors, for general managers, and for the front office, even on the business side of things, right? So that's where we play within the industry, and we feel like that's the place to be, especially for the types of things that we do and what we know.
So you talked about a handful of companies in your portfolio doing a wide variety of things. One of which, C360, which I know you guys exited, sold to Cosm. I've yet to go to Cosm. I live in Dallas. I know there's one in Grandscape just north of here. I literally told my dad for Father's Day, I was like, if you can book a trip, I'm going to get us tickets to a Cosm event so I can experience that with you at some point in the fall. And I actually was just at an event a week and a half ago in San Francisco, and Jeb Terry, the CEO of Cosm, was presenting about all that. Talk about just feels like sci-fi, but sports heaven at the same time. And I know they do other programming and entertainment as well. But you have things like that Pylon Cam company, which I know Cosm is effectively this like patchwork business that is unbelievable that they fit it all together, and did that by, via acquisition largely out of think actually out of a Dallas family office. But
That's right.
I want to, and I would love to get your thoughts on Cosm. But my kind of long-winded question here: where, as a sector-focused fund, where does your interest start, and where do you have to make it end? Because the value chain of sports is large, and you can imagine how it's not that difficult to say, well, actually this is kind of sports adjacent, so we're going to go ahead and do this, versus having a hard, cap on what you consider to be within your focus. How do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would answer it in two ways. First, it's about where we play, right? What we were just talking about before. So we play on the tech data and analytics side of things. We don't do teams and leagues, right? That's not our thing. We're not investing in a team. We're not going to get a soccer team in Europe or that kind of thing. Like that's not what we do at the core at 76 Capital, right? But then at the same time, what are the companies that are maybe sports adjacent or maybe have really, really good, they could do some amazing things in sports, but potentially even outside of the industry, right? So an example of that is our company called Boomerang, and he was and Skylar Logsden's the CEO of Boomerang. He was a quarterback in California. I don't know if you guys crossed and knew each other, but he was a pretty good high school football player. And
is this the Lost and Found on steroids company?
So this is the Lost and Found company. This is the company that, so if you lose something at a stadium, at an arena, at a casino, at a hotel or an airport, we'll get it back for you, right? Skylar and his founder, who was the founder of Shazam, these guys are amazing. I mean, you talk about entrepreneurs, talk about athletes, talk about people that are, fearless, who just make stuff happen. So proud of what they've been able to do. So, if you lose something at Fenway Park, even if you're a Yankee fan, we'll get it back for you. We actually just have a really great story about that. But like if you're at Madison Square Garden and you're going to a Knicks game and you lose something, you'll miraculously get that item back. You'll just get it back almost as simply as calling an Uber. That's where we'll get you that item back. And it's one of those things which a lot of people don't think about, but if you lose something that you care about in one of these places, and what's crazy is how many people have actually lost things or left things or mistakenly forgot them, your favorite jacket, your whatever it is, right, at a game, and you want to get it back. It's really hard to do that. And the process, we've streamlined that process using technology, using AI, working with the sports teams, working with the people that run the arenas, and provide a really great service to enable them to, quite frankly, be heroes. I mean, it's amazing. People are like, the Knicks got my jacket back. It was amazing, right? I mean, like that's the kind of thing that happens, and we just want to make it an incredible experience. So that's one of those things that is a business that can even go way further than sports, but it solves a really, really big issue because the amount of lost and found at stadiums, arenas, casinos, hotels, airports, airlines. We have some big things coming down the pike with that stuff. I mean, it's really exciting, but it's also something that it's solving a problem.
So how do you guys look at it's interesting, given again, you guys were so early on the sports wave, and there aren't many sports dedicated funds, and if the ones that have not been around for very long. So how do you evaluate a company in a sports, say they sell to professional teams primarily, or say they sell to stadiums, things that kind of have a hard cap on them? How do you look at a business and say, this is going to drive venture scale returns, even though, peak maybe saturation would be they sell to every NFL team? That's great, but it feels like capped growth. Maybe it comes back to what you were saying, where the kind of extendability of the product to other and adjacent industries comes into play. But I'd love to hear how you think about that.
Yeah, that's certainly part of it, but it's also the globalization, right, of sports, right? You have to look at sports as not just a U.S. thing. I mean, that's one of the other things. I mean, that's what's been so exciting to see the NFL playing in all these different cities around the world, Major League Baseball going around the world, and the NBA playing in other places. I mean, is there going to be an NBA Europe? I don't know. We'll see. Maverick Carter and his guys, are they going to do this league that they talked about? I don't know. We'll see, right? I mean, there's really, really interesting things that are happening. You're seeing the overall globalization of sports, the fact that we're also seeing and then we talk about the professionalization you mentioned earlier, right? The professionalization of youth sports, college sports, pro sports. not just here in the U.S., but across the world. And what does that look like? So when you think about how sports are played and are, we just recently had on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show, the show that I do on, where we had some of the, top executives from the NCAA talking about how people from the sports industry from around the world come here to look at our college system. I mean, we think it's a mess at times, but like people come here from other countries go, holy smokes, we don't have anything like this because no one else in the world has what we have on the college side. But we go over to other countries and go, wait a second, we don't have academies. We don't have places where these kids go. We have IMG Academy. We have one of those.
One, yeah.
Right? We have really one. There's a couple other smaller ones, but one main one, right?
Yeah.
And you have that, and you're like, okay, well, is that something that will be happening here in the U.S. or not? Or you start to see a little bit of this with some of the MLS teams. We're really lucky here in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Union they've done an unbelievable job with their youth program and their youth academy and the school that they built. I mean, like it's incredible to see what they've done, but like that's not quote unquote normal in the U.S. Will that happen with other sports? And will it be on a sport-by-sport basis? Will it be more IMG-like types of things? So we start to look at all of these things that are now happening. And again, going back to the core, right? What do people want to do? Play sports, watch sports, or want their kid to be the next superstar? That's how we think about and this opportunity, and that's why we call it an asset class. And we, now we're not as crazy as being, when we say it's a $3 trillion asset class, and we agree with the guys at Ares that is something that is really happening out there, and we hear that on CNBC now, and it's talked about a lot now because it truly is. It truly is something. It's where people are spending their time. I mean, you can't find anyone who's not either playing sports, watching sports, or doing something with their kids or grandkids. I mean, there's no matter what, there's somebody falls into one of those buckets, and that's where we all wish that we could do that 24 hours a day. Many of us have to work 9 to 5, and then afterwards. Fortunately, our team and everything we do at 76, we're in sports 24/7. This is our profession. This is our passion. This is our our belief that this is the next big thing, and so far, it's proving to be that way.
So, what is another country or region that you are either maybe most impressed by or think might be doing some things that some U.S.-based companies or leagues should be taking some notes from?
Well, I think you have to really take a look at what's happening with from an investment perspective, right? What's happening in the Middle East and with Saudi Arabia and the investments that they're making now, really significant investments into the sports industry, and the types of things that are now happening, whether it's was the original, investment in Live, and then have that that competitive league to the PGA, the investment the $1 billion investment into DAZN, from a media perspective, and what's happening there, like seeing those types of investments, seeing the opportunity to really build out a lot of the sports that we care about here in the U.S. and build that out, around the world. That's where we see a lot of really exciting opportunities. So on a global scale, there's a lot of really exciting things happening. And when you think about specific areas, I mean, I think that's where one of the things where Chad and I spent a lot of time in London when we decided that we were going to get involved in the sports betting industry. Well, what's a better place there wasn't a better place other than Vegas, which is a lot of people think I live there, but I do love it there. But like we learned a lot from seeing what was happening in London. People, betting is part of the culture. Right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, with this new thing, we can sports bet. No, over there, it's just part of culture. The idea of betting in game, during the game was like, that's where, a large, majority of the bets were coming in. And here in the U.S., it was like you bet, before the game, you went to go watch the game, you eat your hot dog, drink your beer, and, hang out and just watch the game and hope that your team wins. Now, all of a sudden, it's like you have all this action in the middle of it all, right? So that's been going on pre-2018 in in London and in Europe, right? So that wasn't a new thing there. So we learned a lot from seeing that there. And now, I think what's happened here with all the, sports books and sports betting operators here in the U.S., I mean, they've taken that game to a whole nother level, and it's continuing to change and it's continuing to evolve. And we'll see what happens with all of that, because there's a lot of really interesting things that are happening, from a state-by-state perspective, from a federal perspective. Who knows? Who would have ever thought that you could, quote unquote, bet on games with your Robinhood app, powered by Kalshi, right? I mean, really? Like that's wild. I mean, how is that? Is that legal? Is it not? Right now it is. Will it be? Probably. That's why you can say, sports betting is, legal in 50 states. A lot of people don't like that statement. A lot of people have invested a lot of money across the state by state, including us, right? The state by state process, being licensed in all these different in all these different states, going through that process. I mean, it's not cheap, and it's something that, especially, if as a sports book and having to pay the different taxes and different entry fees and things like that. It's significant. It's really, really significant. So, but we'll see. We'll see where all this goes, and that's what we're so excited about. And the bottom line is, with all of it, is things are just literally going up to the right, and continuing to grow. And whether these different rules and laws and regulations change, the people's core interest in sports is only getting greater.
I thought of this question as you were telling me about your portfolio company, Shot Tracker. And you compare that to somehow in 2025, you still have coaches on sidelines with dry erase clipboards and markers. It's so funny how much of a disconnect there seems to be there. And maybe, once someone creates a product innovative and effective as that, it makes everyone wake up to it. You can kind of be lulled to sleep in the meantime if you don't have innovators trying to fix something like that. What is something, maybe adjacent to that, what is something going on in sports today that you think 5-10 years down the road, we will look back on and say, that just seems ancient? Like, how was that possibly the way things were done?
Well, I think, one of the big areas for us is youth sports. And, I think the way that youth sports is almost separated from everything else. And it's like, you're playing this game on this field that may not have any electricity, may not have lights, and you expect, and there's a manual scoreboard, but now with the latest and greatest technology, and I'll use baseball as an example, and I can talk about our portfolio company, Diamond Kinetics, and what they, how they're the baseball and softball, technology company, and what they do in their partnership with Major League Baseball, and the incredible things that they're doing, but really being able to bring an ESPN-like broadcast, an ESPN, getting all of the data and the analytics and having that on a field that there's no electricity around it, but everyone's got iPhones, everyone has iPads, right? You're able to have all of that. You're able to film that game and stream that game and have someone all halfway across the world watch that game by just clicking on a link and watching it, and then being able to see how fast the pitcher's throwing. What was the exit velocity of that last of that last hit that your son or grandson just had, right? Being able to get that highlight instantly dropped into your inbox. If you're not able to make that game because as that mom who happens to have to work at that time and can't be there for their son or daughter in their softball game, right? Like, these are the types of things this is the kind of magic that's happening right now for you as a 12-year-old baseball player to be able to have the same technology, to have the same, be able to do exactly what Aaron Judge does when he goes into the dugout and gets to the bench and picks up that iPad and sees every single pitch from that last at bat, where it was, what the arm angle was of that pitcher, and be able to analyze all that, and then next time come to bat and be able to try to do better. That type of thing, those are the types of things that seem like a little bit science fiction. We're almost there. We're really, really close to being able to make all that happen right now, and not have the sort of the dry erase or the parent in the background going, "Get your elbow up, buddy," like, or whatever it is, like that sort of thing. Like, now it's like, what? Like, the coach can literally tell you, like, if you lift your arm 1% more, and be able to like visualize that and not just be like, "What are you talking about?" But they want to be able to really see that, try that, test that, work at it, and then the next at bat or that next time you're out there pitching or making a play out there, you have the you can now do that, and that's what the tech will allow us to do. That's where the use of incredible AI is so powerful within all of this to bring all of this together, to then be able to take your highlight and match your highlight with your favorite major league player, and you hit a home run to left center field. Well, your hero just hit one as well, and look at those highlights that just miraculously came together, and now is sitting not only in your inbox, but now you just posted that on Instagram or wherever you wanted to post it. Like, these are the types of super cool things that we're right there right now to make that all happen.
Okay, wrapping up here, looking ahead, clearly your passion shines through very clearly in the way that you talk about all this. It's pretty awesome that you get to be both the fan, the enthusiast, and the professional in the industry, all overlapping, into one mission. What is your hope? Maybe it's within a specific subset of sports, youth sports, women's, these new leagues, technology focused, whatever. What is something that, when you get up in the morning, gets you so fired up just by the prospect of what's currently brewing and what might be, quietly transforming the sports world, where everyone who consumes sports content bets on games, has a child in sports, is an athlete themselves, that's going to be their reality years from now? It's kind of funny because you kind of get a window to the future through all your research and your exposure. Like, not to give away your trade secrets, but you really do have a better lens than probably just about anyone else on earth when it comes to this.
Well, thank you, and it's something that we certainly don't take it lightly, and have that opportunity, being able to see what's next with augmented reality and XR and this and that, and be able to like personalize and customize your experience, and all these incredible things that are now possible. I mean, things we've been talking about, like, wouldn't it be amazing if fill in the blank type of thing, right? And all that was, and now these things are actually possible. Why are these things possible today more than ever? Because, number one, the teams and the leagues on the professional level have really leaned into the use of technology, right? And they've now all of a sudden have then, talk about from a betting perspective. Now you have the opportunity to have partnerships with the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the Caesars, the MGMs of the world, and they're all that incredible. They are just, there's just so much learning, and there's so much, so many years of being able to who have engaged customers on the gaming side of the world, right? Mm-hmm. They've built those beautiful, unbelievable casinos, those amazing apps that do these all amazing things that engage people. But now it's now converging with the sports world, and then you bring in the amazing technology companies, the Googles, the Amazons, the Netflix, the Apples, right? The Metas of the world that are now really leaning into the world of sports, and you're seeing this incredible convergence that's happening. That's what's so exciting right now, right? Like, it's not just one thing. It's all of these pieces coming together to build what's next. And for us, one of the big things that will be coming out this fall that we're super, super excited about is what ESPN is doing with their ESPN app. And what Bob Iger and Jimmy Pitaro have been talking about, this idea of being able to customize and personalize the experience so that you have your ESPN bet, your ESPN fantasy, you have the opportunity to buy merch on different e-commerce sites. I won't mention any names or whatever and all that, but have that all come together, have the technology to be able to do that and power all of that is pretty amazing. And we cannot wait to talk about how we're involved in all that, and which one of our companies has been, very much involved in that. And it's so exciting to see. I mean, we should be able to, with your TV control, have a full, customized, personalized experience. It should know that you like to watch Stanford football, And when those games are on, or you have, or you should be able to, buy merchandise for your friends and family and others, when something amazing happens on the field, or you have, a bet on a game, like those types of things it should potentially give you the idea of like, hey, what about this type of bet that you've done in the past? Those types of things are going to happen, and they're going to happen, quote unquote, magically. It's just going to happen. We're not going to have to think about it. We're not going to have to search for it. Through the use of tech and data and AI and all the analytics that are out there, we're going to now be able to provide those types of opportunities to consumers out there. And that's the stuff that really excites me, because we are finally being able to now sit back on our couch with a plain old TV control to be able to have those types of experiences and not have to, put stuff on your face or this and that. We're getting there with that kind of stuff too, right? We're getting real close. I mean, Meta just keeps moving things forward, right? And I mean, like, the unbelievable power of what the Apple Vision Pro is, but it's a big thing on you, right? But just putting that all aside, the power of what that will allow us to do over the next 5 years and what that will look like. It's not going to look like it looks like now, but man, having a computer on top of your head or in your glasses or whatever, however all this works moving forward is really exciting. And for me, that's where we're going to be at this point, where we're going to have this amazing personalized experience, and no one's going to think about technology, and no one's going to say AI and all that stuff. It's just going to be, this is how we do it.
For sure. No, the reduction of friction, you can see it's going to happen. Like with that headset example is perfect. It's like maybe the Apple Vision Pro, walked so a lot of these emerging innovators could run from that perspective. But Wayne, thank you so much. Thanks for being such an awesome advocate in the space and obviously driving so much impact in the world of sports. It makes everyone else's lives so much more fun when these things magically appear, thanks to a lot of work going on in the background and a lot of capital and support of these entrepreneurs. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
It's been great being on our show. Thanks so much, and good luck with everything, Brent.
I appreciate it. Thank you.